Recording in progress.
Good morning and a warm welcome to day 3 of this year's All Digital Summit, coming to you live from Brussels. If you haven't had the chance to tune in yet, my name is Samuel Stolten and I'm the MC of this year's summit. If you're just joining us now, it has been a jam-packed week so far. Day 1 saw us explore the theme of digital tools for a better world, and during day 2, that was yesterday, we got the lowdown on the importance of STEAM education in Europe. A quick housekeeping point: if you're joining our live stream today, please do so through the dedicated All Digital platform over at summit.all-digital.org, and you'll find many extra features and many other ways of getting involved in this year's summit over there. But back to today, and the third day of the All Digital Summit will see us focusing on the importance of fostering digital competencies of young people from disadvantaged backgrounds based on the Social Hackathon co-creation methodology. We will talk with the project's participants, learn and discuss the methodology, experience it in a short simulation and celebrate the results at the Social Hackathon Award ceremony. But before all of that, to tell us a bit more about today's events, let me welcome to the stage the Chair of All Digital, Alteo Valentini. And joining Alteo is also the CEO of All Digital, Peter Palvolgi.
Very pleased to have the opportunity to open the third day of the All Digital Summit this year, together with Chair of All Digital, Alteo Valentini. And as you already know, this summit is focusing on exploring digital skills and tools for a better world. And we turn our focus on 3 digital empowerment themes. The first day we were exploring digital tools and skills for citizens and digital competence centers. Yesterday we were focusing on empowering STEAM educators, and today we are going to talk about empowering young people. And what is connecting these themes is to find solutions to real world and societal problems through digital tools and approaches. So today is the final event of the Social Hackathon project.
Hi, good morning.
As Samuel explained, the Social Hackathon project is focusing on empowering young people through the Social Hackathon co-creation methodology, which gives young people the tools and the opportunity to take an active role in solving societal problems. I'm turning to Alteo now and asking him to tell us about your personal experience with digital co-creation for social good.
Well, actually, it's a very special day for me today, because this is more or less also the reason why I joined All Digital 6 years ago. It was, in fact, back to, I remember Wednesday, the 6th of July 2016, when we first had the chance to open the doors of Association Study Center City of Foligno to over 80 participants, young participants who were trained during the previous 6 months to realize the first ever edition of the Social Hackathon Umbria. This event was originally planned actually as the final multiplier event of Generation 0101 project, and but it has immediately demonstrated the big impact that co-creation in digital world can have in all the areas of the society. Especially in that case, we were working with non-profit organization. The initiative then has been carried out for other 5 years in a row. Well, of course, we had to stop for COVID, but we restarted this year, and we increased the number of participants from 80 in 2016 up to 180 this year. What is the main innovation and the main added value of such a methodology? The fact that we are involving at the same time in a very active way young learners, young people, especially from disadvantaged backgrounds, who are trained to get competencies in many different digital fields, and representatives from public and private entities who are involved in two very relevant stages of the process. At the beginning, to identify the societal challenges which are very relevant at local level, and then also they are the ones who are asked to provide digital solutions. That's why we call them solution givers. The main strength of a social hacking event is actually to base the entire process not on the competition, but on the educational potential that a co-creation experience could offer to all the participants. At the end, everyone is a winner. Everyone has learned something in the digital domain. In the Europe of the 21st century, with all the societal challenges and cultural tensions, social inclusion is progressively becoming the common answer and strategy for a smart, sustainable, and I would say not only inclusive, but also community-based Europe. In fact, regardless the awareness of what social innovation is, we can now find it transversally in the entire EU policy agenda. Nowadays, that we are actually also aware of how our society can cope immediately with very critical social and economic crisis. The main role of a social academy is to support the implementation of innovative actions and projects with the final aim of demonstrating how digital and social innovation can mutually benefit one from the other. Indeed, if one end, if it is very important to react for us as All Digital, to react to the European policies with position papers, comments, let's say that social innovation cannot exist without the effort of our members, without social subjectivity and grassroots approach. So let me conclude by introducing the main project of today's event. Future jobs, local digital talent, and new educational approaches are the three main pillars of the social academy methodology, which has been proposed and promoted by the HackAD project, founded within the framework of the last Erasmus Plus KA3 call for social inclusion through education, training, and youth, with the aim to scale up the social academy Umbria methodology.
Thank you, Ato. This is really an exciting project, and All Digital and its partners are very pleased to participate in this initiative to scale up a local initiative at the European level. Briefly about the program today, we will have two very inspiring keynote speakers, Biljana Sirakova, from EU Youth Coordinator from the European Commission, DG EAC, and Michaela Magas from Commons Foundation. And the program is very rich with a session to present the young people's experience in the Social Academy program. We have a presentation of the Social Academy co-creation methodology by project partner representatives. Then we have an award ceremony. 4 national hackathon winners emerged from social hackathons will compete for the Social Academy Award. Then we will have a panel discussion to discuss the potential and the challenges and critical elements of co-creation methodologies. And there will be a mini hack session in the afternoon to simulate a part of the Social Academy process. And before starting with the program, I would like to highlight some functionalities of the conference portal. Please engage with the platform and explore the platform, and which facilitates the networking opportunities between participants. And there is also a marketplace with over 70 booths displaying different programs, projects, products, or services. And it's still time to visit the marketplace, and if you wish, you can also set up your own virtual booths. And I think now this is time to ask Samuel to introduce the first keynote speakers. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you very much. A round of applause, I think, for Peter and Ateo there is due for their introductions to a very, very busy day indeed. And indeed, yes, it is time now to start our first keynote speech of the day. And for this, we are very pleased to be joined online by someone who plays a central role in developing policies that empower young people for Europe's digital transition, Biljana Sirakova. Biljana is EU Youth Coordinator at the European Commission's DG for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. In this role, her work focuses on helping youth shape EU policies. I'm delighted now to pass the floor to Biljana Sirakova for her keynote speech.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here with you on the last day of the All Digital Summit. I would like to start by just a very quick introduction. I want to say a few words about this EU Youth Coordinator role and why it was set up and why it's important. So it's a new position that was established in the EU Youth Strategy, and I was honored to be appointed as the first EU Youth Coordinator in June of this year, just a few months ago. It was established that there is a need for a single reference point in the Commission on youth issues, someone who can connect with young people outside and with youth organizations, with stakeholders, listen to their views, understand the challenges they're facing, but most importantly, carry these messages inside the Commission. And then inside the Commission, my role is to enhance the cooperation among all Commission services which are working on youth issues, and most importantly, to ensure there is a cross-sectoral approach to youth, and that the youth perspective is integrated across all the relevant policies and not just limited to maybe youth and education. We know that it has to be integrated in employment, in health, in climate, migration, and so many other issues, including, of course, digital policies. So this is a little bit about the role. I'm happy to be here to talk to you about the digital decade and young people's role in it. So let me share my screen. I have prepared a few slides that I hope can be useful to you. So I think there are very few things that we know are certain in life, but if there is one thing that is certain, is that the future is digital. So a few weeks ago, on 15th of September, President von der Leyen, the President of the Commission, highlighted this in the State of the Union speech and called for a digital decade in Europe. So the future is digital, but we also say that young people are our future. And this begs the question, what is their role in them? And I think importantly, what is the role of all young people, including those who are with fewer opportunities, from disadvantaged backgrounds, marginalized groups, etc. So this is what I'll be talking to you today. I will start by highlighting just how important this conversation is. On any given day, if you would go to the EURES, which is the job mobility platform, you would see something like 3.6 million jobs advertised. And the question is, how many of them require digital skills? I don't know. I wasn't able to get that answer, but I really think it's probably the very big majority of these jobs. A few years ago, the Commission published a report establishing exactly that, the set of competencies needed in different positions. And today, most jobs require at least a basic level of digital skills. And as you can see on this slide, even today's farmers need digital skills. So this is why the European Union is investing heavily in skill development altogether. These are some of the most notable EU programs which link to that, and digital skills are part of all of them. For this digital decade, to make sure that our society and economy is transformed by 2030, we have set up a digital compass that will help us lead on this path to achieve digital transformation by 2030. So it's set up as a governance structure where we are cooperating with member states to reach these set of targets at European Union level. And you can see that they are in the areas of digital skills, infrastructure, digitalization of businesses and public services. So by December this year, the Commission is establishing digital principles, and then within 6 months, member states will propose their strategic national roadmaps to how to pursue these targets. So let me talk a little bit about a few examples of kind of areas that we are working in. So one is the Digital Action Plan. I hope you have all heard about this. And there are two priorities of this Digital Education Action Plan. So first one is to foster the development of a high-performing digital education system. So this includes everything from infrastructure, connectivity, equipment, digitally competent teachers and education and training staff, and high-quality learning content. Then the second priority is enhancing digital skills and competencies for the digital transformation. And it includes basic digital skills from very early age, but also advanced skills later. Developing digital specialists, digital literacy, including tackling disinformation, and ensuring that girls and young women are equally represented in digital studies and careers. And to support this digital education plan, we are creating a digital education hub, which will be launched in January. So this is coming up soon, and this is covered by Erasmus Plus funding. But one platform that already exists, and I want to highlight, I'm pretty sure that I hope this audience is well familiar with it. This is the Digital Skills and Jobs platforms. And this is a very useful resource because it offers insights from EU and national initiatives. There are some training opportunities and support. There is a rich community which shares practices and data. There are different news and all different relevant topics to digital skills and jobs. Let me talk briefly about one program which was mentioned earlier, Erasmus Plus, because digital skills and digital in general is a big priority of this program, as well as you can see inclusion and diversity, green and youth participation, which I'm going to talk about next. So I've mentioned a lot, about the importance of digital, and I've been talking about digital skills. But I think one thing I want to highlight here that it's not all digital. The World Economic Forum publishes regularly a Future of Jobs report. This is a little snippet from the last one. And as you can see, when we look at the top 10 skills for the future and what our young people will need to be successful and thriving in their future, there are many different competencies and not all fall under the technology space. So things like working effectively with people, collaboration, problem solving. Actually, there are quite many of these soft skills. And this is why I really think that in proposing solutions to young people, in helping them develop for the future, we have to make sure that we combine these different set of competencies. And for me, some of the best solutions will look something like this, and indeed your own social hackathon, because they will combine the need to developing digital skills, but also thinking, problem solving, creativity, working in teams and with other people, interpersonal skills, etc. So this is just one more example besides the social hackathon, which also combines this more hard skills with more of the soft kind of people competencies. I will start little by little talking about the role of young people in terms of their engagement in society, civil society, and action. So just a few a remark here. I have put that I think young people today use, of course, the digital space, internet, computers a lot. I mean, we know that so many of them are already digital natives. They are born into this kind of context. And on this slide, for instance, you can see that a huge, more than 80% of them, you know, are active on social media, of course, stream content online, listen to music, etc., etc. But one thing I want to point out when we go to the next slide is the engagement of young people in civic activities online. And so while here, by the way, it resembles a little bit more the adult population, which is the kind of orange bars. And while there is some interaction with public authorities through internet, and as many governments are developing the kind of these technologies, when we go more to the right columns, you can see that when it comes to posting opinions on political issues, consultations, online consultations, and being engaged in democratic society, the percentages really fall down. I mean, the last column is something like 10%. So this is something that I think we need to develop if, again, we want young people to really have an active role in this digital future. So fostering youth participation in democratic life is of key importance, and this is something that we know is important to young people and also for all of us as a society. On youth participation, it is actually one of the so-called youth goals, number 9 here, space and participation for all. These youth goals were not, these are not our goals, the EU institutions, these are the goals of young people. This is the vision that they have for youth policy in Europe. So these goals were developed in 2018 as part of this dialogue, EU youth dialogue with young people, and more than 50,000 people participated in the design of these goals. So this is really what young people have as a vision. This is what they want from the future, and participation and many of these other things is there. So how we do this, how we support this youth participation, I mentioned the EU Youth Dialogue. This is our main participatory mechanism. We also have a EU Youth Strategy to 2019-2027. We have the different programs, Erasmus+, European Solidarity Corps, and all of them really attempt to engage young people, to help them also learn how to influence decision-making, help them, support them in leading projects or in youth-led projects, all of these important activities. And we are also looking at new forms of democratic participation. So we know that young people may be less engaged in terms of traditional participation, voting, go for careers in politics, etc. However, they are very much engaged in activism, in some of these, in signing petitions online, expressing their opinions through these different means. So we also have to embrace this kind of new forms of participation. And one particular example I want to highlight is, of course, the Conference on the Future of Europe, because this was launched in May this year. It will go on until at least spring of next year. And this is a new democratic participatory mechanism where all citizens can directly input on this multilingual digital platform their ideas, suggestions, opinions of what the future of Europe should look like. You can see some numbers here on the first, that the platform participants but a lot of this is happening in national, local events. So the event participation is quite important too. You can see the number of ideas. And then on the bottom little table, you can see the number of ideas and participation in terms of specifically on education, culture, youth, and sport policy, because on this platform, there are 10 different topics that people can give their ideas on. But this is only the platform. Apart from the platform, these ideas will then be discussed by select citizens, so 800 citizens throughout Europe. And then these ideas will go into kind of plenaries, and all of the EU institutions have agreed to follow up on these ideas and publish a report which measures were taken and not. So this is really a direct participation, and this is something where we want to encourage young people to be involved more, because as you can see on the bottom of the screen, while there are quite many event participants, in terms of ideas online, the numbers are not that big. I want to end probably on a bit positive note. Yesterday, the European Commission adopted a proposal to make European Year of Youth 2022, to make 2022 European Year of Youth. And this proposal will now be reviewed and has to be approved by all member states in the Council and the European Parliament. And we think that it will be. And so next year will be a lot about encouraging youth participation. One of the 3 objectives of this year that we are proposing is to encourage all young people, and especially those with fewer opportunities, from disadvantaged backgrounds, from rural and remote areas, belonging to vulnerable groups, to become active citizens and actors of positive change. So this is really one of the 3 key objectives of the year. So we will be working closely with youth stakeholders, with young people. We want this to be really a bottom-up approach and to co-create this year, then just propose a set of different activities. I will be happy to connect with many of you in this context, in the framework of this European year or not. So this is where I'll end. Thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure.
Wonderful, thank you very much there. I think a round of applause is due for Biljana Serakova, the EU Youth Coordinator at the European Commission. And I hope you can stay with us for a bit, Biljana, because we will have a couple of questions from our audience at the end. Thank you very much indeed. I was particularly interested actually in your slide showing the levels of web-based engagement with civic activities. And I imagine that this really does demonstrate the social function of the platform ecosystem, and by extension the importance of people, young and old, of being digitally literate more widely. So I found that particularly interesting. We're going to move on now to our second keynote, and for this cause we will be joined by Michaela Magas. Michaela is chair of the Industry Commons Foundation. She is an innovation advisor to the European Commission and the G7 leaders, and member of President von der Leyen's high-level roundtable for the new European Bauhaus. In 2017, she was awarded European Woman Innovator of the Year, and she is also the founder and CEO of Stockholm-based MTF Labs, a global community platform of around 8,000 creative innovators and scientific researchers. Michaela, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be with you. As you have very generously introduced me, I am in a very unusual situation where I am able to feed policy directly from grassroots experimentation with a very, very large global community. And in fact, you are catching me here from our 20th global lab, which we are currently running in Portugal, with 50 people in person, 22 countries. So in this pandemic era, this is a rather unusual situation to be able to gather people that represent 22 countries in one room. And also 8 global satellites from Chicago, from Toronto, Mexico City, Rio, Liepaja in Latvia, Chemnitz, Porto, and London. And all of these satellites are actually educational institutions or research centers. So we are doing this blended environment that is very conducive to learning, very, very rapid upskilling. And what I want to show you through some examples, what this community has managed to achieve and how these achievements have then influenced policy at very high level. And this is something that we are very much implementing now with the new European Bauhaus, this idea of transferring into policy best practice from grassroots community innovation and learning. So I will just start my presentation, and I will share my screen. So if you just bear with me. So I hope you can see my screen okay. So my examples are basically focusing on going from moonshots to social transformations. And this is literally what we are doing. We are actually having communities who aim for moonshots, really, really difficult challenges, and learn extremely rapidly. But then the results are absolutely phenomenal social transformations on several different levels. So I start with this statement by President von der Leyen that I am so lucky to be interacting with now on a regular basis. And the wording that you see here is probably very familiar to this community here that's discussing during this conference, because this idea of co-creation has now entered high-level policy. And in this case, she mentions the creative practitioners as well as engineers. So basically it's STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics all combined. And of course, there is the acknowledgement that all disciplines need to join forces in order for us to stimulate and facilitate societal transformation. And specifically, of course, going towards the Green New Deal. Now, when we talk about big politicians who endorse this space, I will rewind back to a moment in the last month of President Obama's presidency, when he was asked by Wired magazine, which is obviously the world-renowned magazine about digital technologies, to basically guest edit and select new frontiers. And we were very, very honored to be chosen as one of the frontiers, our community, our MTF community, with our champion, Victoria Modesta, whom you can see on the right. Now you will immediately see that the champions that we choose for our community, the role models, are something rather different. I mean, they are people who have really strong personalities. In this case, when our community went over 5,000 members, I decided that the champion that we needed had to be a woman. She had to be brave. She had to be not afraid to challenge preconceptions and to experiment with technologies. And she's now fellow of MIT. And she also is someone who has closed, she has closed the Paralympics in London. She opened the Paralympics in Rio with her performance, which used digital technologies as well as new forms of expression that digital technologies allow. So what we did with Victoria in our labs was first to allow her to express herself in new ways through digital technologies that would then set an example to everybody around her, and actually get everybody to aspire to be her. So in this case, for instance, her prosthetic leg was fitted with a mechanism that was triggered by sensors in her carbon fiber bodies by a very famous designer, Anouk Whitbrecht. She's a fashion tech designer. And it was set to trigger smoke for the stage. And it was another way for her to express herself. Now, this creates an environment where everybody aspires to learn how to do these things. And they actually want to be like Victoria, be able to do this, having these superhuman powers. So she ends up being an example for everybody. But another thing that we did here was we fitted Victoria, our neurofeedback team fitted Victoria with neurofeedback sensors, which allowed her to control the lights on her outfit during the performance. And so during the week of the lab, which is this really, really intense week of learning, Victoria trained to control the lights on her outfit directly from her brain. And what was really interesting was during this week, she did actually accomplish this. So she demonstrated how plastic our brains are, that we can actually train to do such extraordinary things. Now, of course, that also sets an example. So it encourages others to be able to learn and to actually have faith in themselves, have courage to put their brain up for challenges. And then we took this further because in this case, we were invited by Slush in Helsinki, which has actually huge amounts of young people involved in new startups. So 20,000 people, young startups and investors. And this is another, we've decided to set another series of examples. In this case, you are seeing here Riikka Häninen. She is vocal coach from the Sibelius Institute. She's very proud to be a blind singer. And the first thing we asked Riikka when she joined us was, what do you need when you perform? Is there something from the digital technologies that could help you? And the first thing she said to us was, actually, you know, it's interesting because I don't know how the audiences feel. I can't see them. So the first thing we did was something that's, in terms of digital technologies, really simple and something that every school could do, which is to fit very cheap pulse sensors to the audience, so that the audience could basically communicate their heartbeat to the singer. And when we asked the audience to participate, we thought people would be very shy and they won't want to participate, but we actually ended up having a rush for the stage. This is just a moment to hear Riikka sing the songs from the Kalevala.
Sound, so we can't actually hear what's coming through on the speakers here, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, right. I'm sorry. It's probably when I did screen sharing, I probably should have clicked a audio button on there. It was well, you'll have to imagine a beautiful voice there. But this was just to convey that when Riikka went on stage, there was a rush for these sensors, and everybody wanted to participate and actually convey their emotions to her. So we ended up with a huge amount of people engaged at that moment through digital technologies, communicating with Riikka. And this video does not have sound, so this is just to illustrate what was happening at that moment. So we fitted Riikka also with the neurofeedback sensors, and we wanted to take this idea further of being able to really give people powers to be able to govern over what's happening in their environment directly from their brain. And what was adapted here was a system that's used for clinical trials. One of the reasons why it's really important to join disciplines in these environments is that we can learn from each other, from other disciplines. And in this case, it was from psychology. And our neurofeedback team, one of them is a clinician. They use this system where they adapt what they do is they take neurofeedback sensors, and for people who suffer from anxiety attacks, in the early stages of an anxiety attack, the neurofeedback sensors are able to pick up the signals and visualize it for the sufferer, and they're able to indicate it to them so they can start to control it. Now, what they did here instead is they actually used it to drive a musical scale. And so the person could start to train to play music directly from their brain. And in our lab, the participants ended up training to do that. And it took them 2 hours approximately to be able to do that, which is actually already quite an achievement if you think about how long it takes you to learn to play a musical instrument. But then Rika, the blind singer, put the neurofeedback sensors on, and she was able to play instantly without training. And all of a sudden, we actually experienced a paradigm shift, because where we assumed that a person with special needs would take longer to learn something, because of course the tools we were giving them in the old mechanical era were buttons that they would have to see to press. All of a sudden, the person that was in the old days considered to be with special needs was now the person who was the most talented in the room. And all of a sudden, the rest of us felt actually more in need of help. So this completely shifts the perception of what it means to learn and what the new digital tools can allow us to do. So here you see a girl at our lab in London, where we were with the London Symphony Orchestra teaching children how to make electronics and digital technologies from scratch. They'd never done this before, and also very little ones like this girl. And in 3 hours, they're able to produce completely new results. But the really important part with this is that they are then put on the stage and they are performing with these new musical instruments that they create. And they perform in front of big audiences. This is the stage at the Barbican in London. So it's very daunting for them. It's very scary for them. But what is really great about it is that once they get the courage to perform, their confidence rises. And the audience reception is always absolutely wonderful. And this ends up being embedded in their brain as a really wonderful experience, wonderful learning experience, which of course they're not at that moment conscious of. And what we ended up with, particularly in this case, is that the parents came to us afterwards and said, our daughter was never into computing or programming, but she now wants to learn. So this was the really wonderful experience, which of course then what I'm able to do is convey this to policymakers, and I'm actually able to demonstrate it from real use case scenarios. So for instance, our learning goes from the age of 3 to 83 in our labs, and it's transgenerational. This is another important thing. The people who are in our labs, they can be, as I say, 83, and they can be learning together and from the young people. And in this case, I was actually very privileged to be sent by the European Commission to negotiate a contract for European industry together with the ministry in Brazil, the Ministry of Research and Innovation. And during my conversation with the minister, I realized that Brazil had a very successful campaign to enable every man, woman, and child with a mobile phone. But what I then realized is that unlike the one laptop per child, which was a wonderful initiative, as everybody is aware of, but it faced some challenges with the cost of laptops, we were now able to enable every child in Brazil with a smart board, with the microboard. And I said, well, why not one smart board per child? And they really jumped on this because, of course, what happens is in Brazil, with 10% illiteracy in a country of 200 million people, you end up with a huge amount of illiteracy. And there is another type of literacy, digital literacy, which we have learned through our labs, is like Lego bricks, like learning with Lego bricks. And if, in addition to teaching people from the poor areas of Brazil how to play music to lift them through culture, we can also make them make little musical instruments with electronics and with programming. We can also end up with a generation of engineers. And so, of course, this is again where disciplines combine to a very, very wonderful result. So we were very, very lucky to have in 2014, when we were in Cambridge, Massachusetts, doing our labs there with MIT, Harvard, and Microsoft Research, to have the academics from Ivy League colleges actually get totally inspired by these environments. And actually, they initiated a manifesto which showed that combining disciplines in these research and learning environments is incredibly important. And this we took directly to the European Commission on our way back. And this has been undersigned by lots of policymakers in Europe as well. And this encouraged me to set a series of enablers for our young communities to be able to learn and prototype much faster. And one of the results was this reduction of prototyping to from seed idea to first level prototype, and even filing of a patent within just 4 months. Now, these are some of our success stories, and I showed you lots of women earlier. Now I'm showing you some successful men that have come, young men who have had wonderful experiences as a result, for instance, as being selected innovators under 35 by MIT, or 30 under 30 entrepreneurs by Forbes in Israel. So the diversity of the community is paramount for this. These are just some of our participants in our labs in Stockholm. And the person on the bottom left has been just performing for us here in our labs in Portugal. And here you will see him just giving an interview to the cameras. And this is his rig that he has invented to be able to perform with what he himself defines as his chicken arms. Now, the success of being helped by other really innovative people in the lab ended up with 2 days later being featured on the BBC, and also support by KTH Innovation. So this is the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, to incubate his ideas together with the two brilliant designers and computer programmers who were helping him. And we were super proud because jointly the three of them received International Sound Award in Hamburg at the Reeperbahn Festival as a result of this incubation. And this is him now on covers of magazines because he was able to, after graduating in computer science from KTH, found a production company where he actually is a multimedia producer now. And he's enabled to run a company. And we are extremely proud of him. I mean, he gets commissions, and he's actually an independent entrepreneur. So this is another role model that we show to all of our community, and the inclusion is just phenomenal. I put women in charge of all technology areas in Stockholm in front of 800 participants. We have Imogen Heap here, famous musician and blockchain activist, Robin, the famous musician, and people like Danica Kragic, famous professor of AI and robotics, or Kelly Snook, NASA scientist, in front of these 800 hands-on participants. And the result was, out of 4 gender categories that we gave people the option to register as, 53% in a technology prototyping event, multi-gender event, registered as female. So now all of these wonderful people have joined us in Portugal, and we have focused, of course, on our latest challenges, the really important big challenge of course, global warming and climate change. And in this case, we are addressing just ocean, and just can be read in many different ways. And these are just some of the words that have been that are being explored. This is us doing a field trip in one of the largest protected local wetlands. So we also go outside of the lab, and we do field research, and we collect samples. The scientists, the oceanographers are collecting data, and some of the artists are then using the data to work with them. And these are some of the wonderful communities. The couple on the right are last year produced an incredible piece where they created artificial life, speculative life forms to draw attention to the local ecosystems that are not anthropomorphic, and therefore they require special attention in order to draw attention to the changes. And this is only, I think, last night they were recording sounds in the ocean. And there are just some wonderful, wonderful collaborations happening here. 24 countries in total, including our satellites that are participating in this. And it's a global learning platform. So this is my, let's say, final recommendation. I always say this to the politician. It has been rolled into NEB, the grand missions that are driven by moonshots. And this is Imogen Heap sending her voice to the moon in our Stockholm labs. Here through the radio telescope in the north of Holland, 83 participants literally sent their voices to the moon, and it bounced off the surface and it was reflected and sent back to them within 2.4 seconds. And this is very important, not because it's groundbreaking technology, but it's because it actually places the learning environment, the technology transfer environment, if you like, in a completely different mindset. So at the end of the day, it's about the people and it's about our community. It's about the power of the people to take one step forward in their personal development during these weeks. And if we can do that with the European Bauhaus, and I always say that to our politicians, if we can get every person in the grassroots communities during these learning weeks and during this prototyping and hands-on sessions to take one step forward in their personal development, we have a phenomenal social transformation. So we always say, we don't predict the future, we invent it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Michela Magas, there for your keynote speech. It's great to hear about some of the inspiring stories and examples of good practice for inclusive innovation all the world over. And I hope you can stick around for a couple of questions with us now, because they're coming in thick and fast. The first one we have comes from an audience member who asks Biljana to tell us a bit more about the 2022 European Year of Youth. So Biljana, this is something that you referenced briefly in your keynote speech, but perhaps you could give us a bit of an insight into the specific projects that will comprise the 2022 European Year of Youth, and what was the real driving force behind this initiative?
Thank you for that question. Well, as mentioned, the initiative was announced by the President of the Commission a few weeks ago. The driving force was that we realized that young people in Europe and globally have had very difficult last 2 years. Of course, this is valid for all of us, I think, for the whole society. But young people who are specifically in a period of transition, and when they are developing competencies, moving from education to employment, establishing careers, maybe meeting their partners for life, these years that were lost in the pandemic especially have a negative impact can have a negative impact on the future. We talk about maybe a pandemic scar on this generation. So one of the reasons why the president wanted to specifically dedicate next year to young people is to try to, although we cannot compensate in that, in the sense that we involve them in forward-looking initiatives, in terms of the green and digital transitions, that we give young people a message of hope and a forward-looking orientation and a message of possibilities and opportunities. So there will be quite many different initiatives. It's a full year, of course. They will be happening not only, of course, at European level, but in the member states at a local, regional level. We are launching some new initiatives. One of them particularly targeting young people who are neither in education, nor employment, nor in training needs. It was also announced during the State of the Union address. This is the new ALMA initiative. And this initiative will offer these people temporary work assignments in a foreign country in Europe. So there will be a number of different ones like that. We are also looking for not just having a year full of activities, but something that creates a lasting impact, so that we can speak that in this year this was launched and it had an impact and a real outcome and made a difference for young people. So we want to probably look at something that includes them more into the decision making in a very concrete way. But I would like to ask our participants to stay tuned for the details. Again, this proposal is still in the legislative process and needs to be first approved by the Council and the Parliament. And the single place where you will be getting all this information is called the European Youth Portal. So very soon there will already be, for instance, way to introduce ideas. And again, our wish is to create this year together.
Biljana, there for your response. And yes, a message of hope, I imagine, next year for many young people all across the European Union after the hardship that the coronavirus pandemic has given us. We also have a question here that's come in for Michaela. An audience member asks, when listening to you, it sounds easy to be innovative and bring positive change to communities, but I know that that is not the case in reality. Where should one start or learn to become innovative in whatever they do in life? That one's for you, Michaela.
Well, thank you for that question. And yes, of course, it's not easy. We work extremely hard, and it's a great deal of dedication, and it's literally a 24/7 thing. In fact, since our community started to build back in 2012, it has been basically no turning back. You just have to work really hard to enable this community because there's so much value there and you can't let go. But joining these types of labs, because there are actually quite a lot of those being run also by several other organizations. They obviously have slightly perhaps different methodologies, but to be in a space, in a physical space with people across different disciplines, to start to experience what it means to be exposed to the different types of knowledge that are then present in the room, and to actually be able to face these kinds of challenges together is something that it needs to be experienced. So for instance, with the New European Bauhaus, we are now really encouraging grassroots communities to galvanize, to join in these kinds of environments, and we're designing a lab as well that will enable that. So, this is going to provide extra tools for people to be able to engage. So it is very important to actually physically be there. I mean, we have blended environments, and we have some people who are physically there in person, and then we have satellites where they are collaborating also physically together, but they can also join with us and exchange brainstorming sessions, etc. So getting involved, get engaged with some of these things. There's also the European Network of Living Labs, for instance, which is present in, I believe, every country in Europe. So look them up and actually get engaged. That's the first step, I would say.
Wonderful, thanks, Michaela. And just actually a follow-up from me, because when I heard about the new European Bauhaus, my mind immediately went back, of course, to Germany in the 1930s and the original Bauhaus movement that attempted to marry form and function in design. And I just wonder, to how much of an extent was the new European Bauhaus movement inspired by the original principles of that Bauhaus movement coming from Germany in the 30s?
Well, the original Bauhaus had a huge agenda for education, as you know, and it actually got people from a huge amount of different countries as well. You know, the impacts from the original Bauhaus went as far as Japan on one side, and the US. Actually, generations of students were actually taught by the founders of the European Bauhaus. And in fact, last night we were having interviews with the IIT Institute in Chicago, the design school there, who were founded by Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, and who was one of the founders of the original Bauhaus. And generations of students there were educated based on their principles. So it had a huge influence. So I think that was one of the inspiration points for calling the new movement a new European Bauhaus. But there are, of course, fundamental differences. One is that the level of inclusion that we wish to enable now is very, very different. First of all, in terms of aesthetics, there was a particular industrial aesthetic that the original Bauhaus promoted, which was very innovative at the time. But the aesthetic we now promote emanates from, first of all, communities and the values of those communities. And those communities are not just pan-European, they're very much global. So I'm very, very proud, for instance, to have Sheila Patel on a high-level roundtable who is doing phenomenal work with women's collectives in India. And she keeps pulling us back to have that global perspective and to also have not only transgenerational perspective, but also have the be very, very aware of those who perhaps don't have access to digital technologies yet and how to enable those communities. So we have a very different shift of the perspective, both because of this strong social component that has a radical inclusion. We call it radical inclusion, which focuses on the places where we converge rather than on placing people into categories. And the other aspect, of course, being our ambition towards sustainability and resilience, and because we're working towards the Green Deal. So the materials, for instance, that we are advocating for that are being used in any experiment or any design or any build have to be materials that are sustainable materials. So this is, again, a completely new direction for innovation.
Wonderful, thank you, Michela. And yes, of course, sustainability sounds like a real core tenet of the new Bauhaus movement, and we're all looking forward to hearing more about that movement in the future. Well, thank you very much indeed to Biljana Sirakova and Michela Margas for joining us here this morning. I think a round of applause is in order. Thank you for joining us and for responding to those questions from the audience. But we're moving on swiftly now, and it's time to learn about one of the main projects for today's subject of empowering disadvantaged youngsters in education, the Social Hackathon initiative. So the Social Hackathon project aims to enhance the digital skills of young people through the implementation of Social Hackathon methodology, which offers young people a variety of training courses for digital skills to attend, enables them to use new digital skills for the realization of a concrete product or service that is useful for society, and it also allows them to collaborate with various stakeholders that are affected or try to solve societal challenges. The methodology is implemented through permanent grassroots co-creation initiatives called Social Hackathon Labs. 4 labs were established during the project in Rijeka, Croatia, Montpellier, France, Folignano in Italy, and Patras in Greece. The labs host training courses on specific digital skills like web design and native mobile app development, and social hackathons where young people team up with experts from civil society to develop digital products and services for various societal challenges. We will explain the methodology in more detail in the following session, but before that, we will talk about the Social Hackathon experience with representatives of 3 key target groups. We have with us today here representatives from the youth, also civil society organisations and trainers. We have reserved some time at the end for a couple of questions, so please keep them coming into us this morning if you'd like to hear more from our representatives. First up, joining us virtually is Valentina Canonico from Atlas. Valentina was part of the Social Hackathon Lab in Italy, and she should be joining us virtually now. Hello, Valentina. Can you hear us loud and clear?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Wonderful, perfect. So perhaps we could start off very generally. If you could introduce yourself to us, tell us a bit about your background.
Yes, I'm an engineer and I work in an association with art therapists. So we work together with technology and art therapy to build a new relationship with people with some communication difficulties. They are people with disabilities or so-called normal that have issues with technology addiction. So our clients varies a lot. They are part of our association, and we try to put together these two things, doing art together in a therapeutical system and using technology to work together.
Right, and You speak about technology addiction. I mean, how serious is this of a problem in the modern age?
Is an extremely serious issue, especially after the pandemic. Many young adults and young in general were put in front of a PC many hours per day. So then many of them didn't go back to school, didn't get out anymore. It was an issue before, and it's much more, how can I say, severe now.
Mhm. Okay, and what sort of impact have you observed on your work, for example, on the young people that have taken part in the project, and what are the learning outcomes?
Yes, because our association during the pandemic, 2 years before, started building park with no other. It's a park outside, a real thing, where we could stay outside, so it was much easier to work there during the pandemic. And during last year, during the social labs, we had the opportunity to develop an analog virtual of this real space. So it was a great opportunity for us to involve our clients. So there were autistic people, there were people with technology addiction and many other issues that could participate to the lab and then to the hackathon. And it had a huge impact. First, it was an opportunity during the pandemic because we weren't allowed to stay together in the real world. And second, they had the opportunity to be really part of the organization. I mean, generally, it's us taking care of them. It's different roles, of course. But in this situation, they could work together, build something for the association. And so it was a new experience for all of us and a very powerful one.
Wonderful, great, Valentina. And just a final question from me. Perhaps you can tell us a bit about your future plans, any other projects that you have for the near or long-term future with Atlas.
Yes, we learned during the pandemic that it is very important to build this, I could say, fourth space, which is something that has a real part in the real physical world and a virtual part that can be accessible no matter what happens outside. So we would like to go on working on this fourth dimension because it is very helpful for our clients and for us. And it is a sort of training of going from the real world to the physical world. And it is probably a challenge that we all will face in the future. So for us, it is a very empowering challenge, a very good tool to handle.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Valentina. And we hope you can stay with us for a couple of questions from our audience at the end. Up next in the studio, we have with us Ivan Musanovic, a trainer from CTK Rijeka. Ivan, please take a seat. Welcome to Brussels.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you could start off very generally for us. Tell us a bit about who you are, what your background is, and how you got involved in the project.
Well, from background, I can just say that I'm a very passionate teacher with really big interest in all digital. Yeah. From my perspective, it's like really difficult to say, but in this age of uncertainty, I can say that science now is like the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. And where did your interest in digital technologies begin?
I would say it was just curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
Curious about everything.
Wonderful, good stuff. And so trainers are, of course, central figures in the implementation of the Social Hackathon methodology. And you teach young people digital skills, collaborate with stakeholders from civil society to prepare tasks for trainees and identify challenges for social hackathons as well. What makes the methodology stand out and what makes it different from other digital skills and teaching methodologies?
Well, what makes it stand out is actually the thing that the young people are actually creating something, so it's a big benefit for them. And the other thing is it's not a hackathon, it's a social hackathon. And that's actually a really important thing because usually, you know, in these kind of situations, the hackathon is somewhere where people from the industry gathers, they headhunt for different jobs. But in this way, we allow young people to get opportunity to show themselves, to learn something new, to actually participate in something that is really valuable for the society. So, I mean, that's like the biggest innovation that we have, you know.
Wonderful. And what surprised you most during the Social Hackademy methodology piloting experience?
During the piloting, I mean, I have a lot of surprises. Yeah, but I think that the enthusiasm of young people, I mean, that's like, you know, when you see people are creating something, and me as a teacher, as a trainer, when I saw that moment, you know, when you look in their eyes and you see like, I know something, you know, they get something really. And when they get that they're really making an impact, they're making a change because of their project, because of what they're doing, I think that's really important, both for them and for whole society in general.
Right, and what sort of feedback have you gotten from the youngsters taking part in the project?
To say it, you know, in simple words, they said, let's do it again. Come on, let's do it more and more. Because I think it's like a really nice initiative, and I think all of the members, you know, all the actors who participated in this process, you know, like 2-year process now, they all said, okay, after this is finished, when can we start a new one?
Great, so they can't wait for the next one to start. That's fantastic. We've got one final question for you here, Ivan. From a trainer's perspective, what are the 3 things you value the most with the Social Hackademy methodology?
It's like 3 things. Practice, practice, practice. Yeah, it's...
That's easy to remember.
It's, yeah. Yeah, the thing is that the thing about this methodology is that usually, you know, kids, you know, in this age, they just learn theoretical stuff, but here they get opportunity to learn. Okay, first you're going to learn something. After that, you're going to create something. But you're not going to create some, you know, imaginative project. No, you're going to create actual project for someone, you know, who is going to use that solution that you created. And I think that's like, as I said, practice, practice, practice. That's like the most important thing.
And it's the practicality of it. It's knowing that the theory translates into a practical solution at the end.
I mean, they learn both the theory, but, you know, it's like they have a sense of accomplishment after they're finished. So I think that's really important, especially in their at their age.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ivan. A round of applause, I think, is due, actually, for Ivan and all his hard work in training the youth of today up in Social Hackademy skills. Up next, joining us here, we have Roxane Kabi, a trainer and hacker from France. So if you'd like to come up and take a seat, Roxane, please. Thank you very much. So maybe we can start, Roxane, by you introducing yourself. Tell us a bit about your background and why you got involved in the project.
Yes, of course. So hi. Firstly, I would like to thank you for welcoming me and welcoming us today. I'm very happy to be a part of this social hackathon and to have the opportunity to participate in a project that helps to reduce social inequalities. So, as mentioned before, my name is Roxane. I'm 24 years old and I'm currently a work study to become an IT developer. I live in Montpellier. It's a beautiful city in south of France, and it's known for its diversity and inclusiveness. When I was younger, I wanted to travel and like discover the world. And I was interested by the field of hotel and catering, so I became a bartender. This gave me the opportunity to travel and discover the world, but also discover myself. So I go like to South America, Asia. I really loved being a bartender, but I wanted to do something else. So approximately 2 years ago, I was in Thailand when COVID-19 hit the world. So it was a chance I was waiting, the opportunity, I would say. I came back to France and I decided to change my professional career.
Wow. I mean, so that's an example of, I suppose, opportunities arising out of the COVID pandemic, a change of mindset, a change of mentality, and, you know, giving you the possibility to pursue, you know, new careers for the future, I guess. Wonderful background there. And Roxanne, perhaps you could tell us why you decided to sign up for Social Academy activities.
Yeah. I knew I wanted to work in IT or computer science, but it's such a huge field, you know, like I had no idea if I even had the capacity to even do it. So I started to search for information on the internet, and I heard about the Social Academy program. And for me, it was, when I read it, it was like absolutely perfect. Like it was a short program, 2 months, that lets me experience the world of IT and especially the professions. Meanwhile, I could learn new skills and have a certificate at the end. So yeah, it was very, very interesting for me.
So it was perfect timing, by the sounds of it, really. You found it by mistake, but it was perfect instance. Wonderful. And so Roxanne, what would you say are the 3 favourite things from your Social Academy experience?
Many things, but if I have to choose 3, I would say the relevance of the program, the method of teaching, and the inclusiveness, kindness. For the relevance, I really like the fact that in the first few weeks, we learned so much about IT and everything related to it. Then when we knew the theory and at solid basis, we applied all this knowledge and started to learn more in depth. And all this time, the teachers were really encouraging us to explore by ourselves and solve problems by helping each other out. It created a really helpful and kind environment where everyone helped and shared with the support of the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I've got a question here that says, how has the course helped you? But I'd also like to ask, how has the course helped you, but how has it changed you as well?
It helped me a lot to decide for my future career in IT. Since we explored so many teams, I had time to experience and gain knowledge about my favorite field of IT. I have acquired technical skills that help me in my everyday career, like UI and UX design, that makes me more efficient in creating a website and understanding how to create it, or even HTML and CSS, that motivated me to learn code and to become a web developer. In addition, I've also developed my soft skills, I will say especially this, and self-confidence. I had big problems with self-confidence. Even today, I'm very nervous. I think you can feel it, but yeah. All these things really helped me to get accepted in 2nd year of work study IT developer. So, yeah.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, it sounds like such a good course. I think I might sign up for it for next year. So Roxanne, just a final question now. What would you change if you go for another round of the Social Academy experience?
I think I would change the pace of training and the organization. So the first few weeks were kind of slow. It could have been more condensed. It felt pretty long, even if it was very interesting. But some people decided to quit And I think it's a shame because a few weeks later, the pace really intensified, maybe a little too much because we had a lot of works that we had to finish at home. And for some people, it was quite difficult because they had bad connection or other external constraints. And it was kind of inequality in itself. So yeah, so that's it. Better organization by adjusting the pace.
Wonderful, and I'm sure all digital representatives are listening loud and clearly for your key messages there. A big hand for Roxane for joining us. A round of applause, please, for her, for coming to us from Montpellier. Thank you very much, Roxane, for joining us here today. A reminder to all of you tuning in virtually, get those questions into us, and we will try and raise them with our representatives before we close for a break in about 10 minutes' time. But before that, we're moving on now with Dina Aravantaki, a trainee and hacker from Greece. And I believe Dina is joining us virtually now. Can you hear us okay, Dina?
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
I can hear you very well.
Hi, Dina. You're coming through loud and clear, which is fantastic because we know yesterday that some of our representatives from Greece had a couple of connection issues, but it sounds like everything is okay from where you are. Maybe you can start by giving us a bit of an introduction into yourself, telling us a bit about your background.
Yes, of course. My name is Dina. I am 21 years old and I am a university student at BMA Studies. I took part in Social Academy Lab mobile app development.
Great, wonderful. And why exactly did you decide to sign up for the Social Academy experience?
I decided to sign up at Social Academy because I found the labs very interesting, and I was always interested in learning how to make mobile apps, which was a lab I was chosen to take part in.
Wonderful, okay. And after having decided, obviously, to take part in the experience, what were your 3 favourite things?
Teachers' piece of advice and motivation, the chance to compete with others, the gain of basic experience which you can grow yourself after the seminar.
Okay, wonderful. And thinking more now about how maybe this experience has helped you, do you think that it's changed you in any way? How has it helped you with your ambitions for the future?
Yes, it was really helpful because it made me learn new skills, meet new people with the same goals, and was a chance for me to have some experience in competing because it was my very first technological and adult participation in a project like that.
Okay, wonderful. And would you go for a second round if you had the opportunity?
Yes, of course, because it was an amazing experience.
And if you did go in for a second round, what would you change as part of the Social Academy experience?
I would like to have a piece of work that would show more advanced skills, not only for the project, but also for my personal skill level of growth. I would also prefer making a better presentation of my project because I was a bit anxious.
It happens to the best of us, Dina, so I wouldn't worry about that, but maybe that's a lesson learned for the future. Thank you for joining us, Dina. And we're going to move on now to a few questions. A round of applause, yes, to all of our representatives there, from trainers to the students themselves. I'd actually like to invite Roxane and Ivan back on stage because we have a couple of questions that I think would be worth addressing now. And maybe we could start, Roxane, with you. In terms of, of course, before you were traveling, you were in Thailand, and then the coronavirus pandemic happened, so you returned to Europe. I wonder how the Social Academy experience has changed your career ambitions for the future? I mean, has it really given you the impetus to pursue a particular career?
Yeah, totally. Like, I knew, yeah, I wanted to be in IT, but I had really no idea, like, if I should code or I should go in design and development. So I really gained a taste of coding, and it especially helped me with the skills. So for work study, I really wanted, but I haven't the skills. I hadn't the skills, so I learned that.
Great. And Ivan, I wonder, when the students take part in your training sessions, are they in a very confused state in their lives? Are they kind of deciding what to do for the future? Do they know what path to take? I mean, what kind of a stage are they at in their career and personal development?
I mean, I'm always in a confused state of mind, so it's difficult to answer. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes they're searching for the things that will fulfill them, you know, career-wise in the future. But I think that, you know, it's actually really interesting that, as Roxanne said, coding can really, you know, inspire you. You agree?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, just doing something that is creative and, you know, actually making something that has like a result at the end, it's like really inspiring to youngsters. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting when we're talking about coding, because personally coding is something that I've wanted to study for a long time, but I've never had the courage, I suppose, to embark on a program of study for coding, because you imagine that it's just so complicated, so complex. And I'd just like to address a question to our representatives tuning in virtually. We still have with us, of course, Valentina, Dina on the line now. And I just wonder, before you started the Social Hackademy experience, were you at all faced with a similar challenge? Did you think it was going to be something that would take up a lot of your time, that would be too difficult? And how did that process get easier as the experience continued? Either Valentina, who would like to address that one, or maybe Dina. Perhaps Dina, that one would be more appropriate for you. She's no longer with us, maybe. Roxanne, maybe you can address that one then, and we'll address another question to Valentina in a moment. How much were you almost scared about doing the experience before you started, and did it get easier as it continued?
I was very, very scared. Yeah, as I said before, it was a problem with self-confidence, and I think a lot of other students were the same. We were like all lost, and we had trust issues, maybe that's not a good word, but about ourselves, like our competences, and it really helped because since the teachers were really, really kind, really helpful, we developed self-confidence, and it became easier and easier to learn. And
great. That's really interesting, actually. And Valentina, I wonder if you could respond to what Roxanne said there a bit, because of course it's not only about these hard skills, about learning coding and technical skills, it's also about the soft skills as well, like self-confidence and trust. How important is that in the whole process?
Absolutely very important, because it is a skill you build by participating with other people, by challenging yourself, because of course at the beginning you start thinking, I'm not enough skilled, it's not for me, how could I eventually succeed in this experience? But then while you do it, while you participate, you become taken by passion, and that's what makes you forget all your thinking about, am I good at it? I mean, you start doing, and that's what matters most, according to me, because in the end, it builds your self-esteem, and you enjoy very much what you are doing. You can see that it is something with a purpose, something other people also appreciate.
Great, so the passion becomes the driving force that I suppose supersedes confidence issues or any other issues that may be in play there. That's a really interesting response. It's been great to get to know some of the first-hand experiences of the Social Hackademy project, but we're going to take a quick 10-minute break now for you to refill your caffeine reserves, but do join us after the break for more on the Social Hackademy co-creation methodology, as well as the all-important Social Hackademy award ceremony. You won't want to miss that. We'll see you after the break.
Ne. I tamo je, mislim, computer receiver je tamo ali ne trebaš operiti.
Hi. Hi, Lana.
Now it works.
Wait.
It looks like it has huge delay.
Yes.
That was you. So
Maybe it's not turned on. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's green. There wasn't green light before.
now the thing is,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Welcome.
Yeah, but from here it doesn't work. Might be the
Prvi dio.
yeah. I mean but kako ste vidjeli? Mislim, isto je kao na
Okej, da,
kompjuteru.
da.
Kad pritisneš desno,
Da.
to ti je kao da... Ne, ćemo srediti. Trebamo to srediti. Sve ekipe to trebate.
Hello, good morning. This is a microphone check on channel 5. Hello, good morning. This is a microphone check on channel 5. Hello, good morning. This is a microphone check on channel 5. Hello, good morning. This is a microphone check on channel 5.
Welcome back, and picking up where we left before the break, we heard from many Social Hackademy participants about their experiences and what kind of impact it had on their skill development, work and life. But now it's time to dig a bit deeper into the Social Hackademy methodology. The methodology is based on Social Hackathon Umbria and was upscaled and formalised to make it transferable to different educational and situational contexts. We still have with us here Ivan Musanovic, who, if you missed him earlier, is not only a trainer, but also an IT specialist, tech enthusiast and passionate teacher working in the Centre for Technical Culture, Rijeka, that led the upscaling process. He will explain what has been done and how you can use project outputs to implement Social Hackademy methodology in your context. Ivan, please take the stage.
Well, thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me. Yes, and before I start, I have to say that, thanks. When I heard about this project, when my bosses told me, okay, we're going to have a social academy, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Because finally, an IT project with youth, that's going to be so exciting. And we're going to do like really cool stuff during the project. So I was like very excited and very happy to be a part of it. And my NGO, my company, we were in charge of creating the curriculum. So it was like really, inspiring, but both, like challenging job for us. But, as what we are thinking about this is like Social Academy, it supports the implementation of innovative actions and projects with the final aim of demonstrating, showing people how digital and social connected. It's like unusual in this way because usually it's just digital, technological, very industry based. But we combined both digital and the social innovations, and how young people combined with NGOs, combined with trainers and everyone can help create solutions that will benefit the society. And that's like our guiding idea. So first things first, we needed to create a plan, to create like a platform for what we're going to do. And actually that is what we have created and what is going to be used, I hope, by a lot of people. Yeah, so first things, we have to choose some of the topics. And the topics that we chose were like these three that you can see, like web design, visual graphic design, mobile apps, because we were thinking, okay, these are some things that are very tangible. I mean, a lot of people can use them, relate to them, but they can also be taught to students, and students can use these skills and knowledge to create something tangible that they can be proud of the results. So these are the three topics that we have chosen for this project. But of course, Social Academy doesn't mean that it's limited to that. Any digital skill or knowledge or course that can help bring closer some of the topics, proposed by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals can also benefit from Social Academy. So after we created like course outlines, okay, we needed to do, okay, how are the teachers, the trainers, going to, you know, make their knowledge possible, you know, available to youngsters. So, of course, we need some educational resources. And what better way, because it's like a multilingual platform, so to say. So we need to use open educational resources. And we found in 5 languages open educational resources that trainers can use to give their lectures to the youngsters, that the young hackers, trainees, can use to get additional knowledge and skills. And it needed not to be just, you know, on the technical subjects like mobile applications or web design, but it needed also to be about social component. And the social component we chose like United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So after we did like online, after we created like course outlines, and after we had like these OERs, how can we bring that to the people, closer to the people? So we created online platform, and we tried to do like one digital solution online that can address all of the needs that one would need to implement social academy for themselves. So on the platform we have training educational materials, as I said, OERs. They're like online groups where people can meet together, communicate, both learners by themselves in the way of projects. They can get advice from the trainers. They can come together with organizations who actually took part in this project as solution givers. They were giving the ideas to young people. People can find all of the information about hackathons, and after the hackathons and after the training, they can showcase their results. And you know, everything is based on like social networks, so that it's a familiar way of communicating of young people. And of course, one part also that we created is like the methodology, the social hackathon methodology. It is based upon social hackathon Umbria methodology, and it was scaled up during this project. And the most important part is that it fosters co-creation of digital solutions with emphasis on the social aspect. So who can benefit from this? I mean, everyone can benefit, but mostly the young people. And it's important that they benefit because they're going to shape the future, you know. And who is going to help them in that is the mentors who have the know-how about the technical skills, you know, and guide them through the process. And the organizations are the third part who is really important in this process because they will give the solutions needed to create something that will really matter in the community. So these are the people who are co-creating something in order to really make it valuable. And social academy methodology really has like 5 key values. It's like learning by hacking. It's not a like a normal way of teaching, just didactics and stuff. It's like try to make a change in a society. Try to do it. Stigmergic model, which also says, okay, do it in a group, you know, don't do it by yourself, do it in a group, try to have like connection of thoughts, connection of minds. Glocal approach, I think that everyone is just looking, okay, that's like a typo, but it's not a typo. It's actually, you know, think locally, but what you create for the local community, it can be applied to the global society. Then crowd hacking. How can you make something that is worthwhile, you know, something that is like really valuable to the society, but try to do it, you know, try to hack it. Try to see what is wrong with society and then try to make it better. And then, of course, sustainable engagement, but I think I don't have to talk too much about that. And what we have created for people to use is like, in this methodology, it's a practical guide that uses a lot of examples, so you know, you can see it firsthand, how to organize and implement a social hackathon. From the logistics to selections of challenges, I don't know, every single aspect of organizing and implementing an event like that, everything is explained and given to you in step-by-step guidelines and with examples so that you can, you know, follow it through. And the last but not least part, all of this knowledge sharing of ideas, of experiences has been put together in a Social Academy Handbook for Trainers. And everything from training courses, the methodology, the description of the online platform, everything has been put together in one guidebook, so to say, which can help you create and implement and organize a social hackathon in your country. It's a complete guide to do what I've just said, and it has a description of the online platform, which is really important because it's one of the most important part of the project. It has a guide how to teach young people, how to evaluate what they have learned, how to organize and implement a hackathon, and everything you need to create a hackathon, to implement a hackathon. So, what do you get from all of this? I mean, because every project is, you know, to us, it's like really important. But what does it give to you? So, if you'd like to join us and learn more about it, you can get a complete guide with all of the necessary instructions to implement a social academy lab in your community. So you will get everything needed and both instructions from us via email or something. You can get 3 finished training courses with OERs that can help you implement it or can help trainers, learners understand it. And you can get a platform that can help you connect with other social hackers and their organizations for future collaboration. And I'm sorry if I was a bit boring or long. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Ivan there, please. Thank you very much, Ivan, for taking the time out this morning to join us. And of course, the theory is one thing, but the practice is what really matters. And to test how the Social Hackademy methodology performs in action, project partners implemented 4 pilots in Croatia, France, Greece, and Italy. Now, what were the results of co-creation activities and how did the participation impact young people and other involved stakeholders? Answers to this question will now be presented by Matteo Valentini, who, apart from his all-digital role, is also the founder and CEO of European Grants International Academy, hackathon enthusiast, and founder of social hackathon Umbria.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Well, again, here on stage to speak about probably my favorite topic ever, hackathons, and especially social hacking. As it been said, I'm doing this for some years now, and the Hack AD project has been really a great opportunity to scale up at European level a practice that we built during the years, and we actually experienced some failures. We got a lot of feedback from all the targets involved in the process, and we think that now we are at a good point. Of course, perfection is always far away, but with these social academy pilots that we carried out in 4 countries, I will say that we have achieved good impacts. The first impact, let's say, was to test a methodology that we have always implemented within our local framework and educational setting into diverse scenarios. In fact, the 4 partners included in the project are all active in education, but under different points of view. CTK Rijeka is a real lab working a lot with youngsters and providing all kind of innovative training courses in the city of Rijeka. HOU is the Lenny Kope University, so their target was to experiment a social hacking initiative with their, especially with their students and in an online environment. And Simplon is a big educational institution working with the final aim to place their learners into companies. So as you can see, the pilot of the social academy methodology had the opportunity to be shaped into 4 different scenarios. The first thing that we focused on, and we really worked very hard, was to set up the labs, because one of the main progress of the social hackathon Umbria in being scaled up was to pass from the event-based experience to a longer and more effective educational offer at local level. So setting up the labs for us meant mostly training the trainers, our trainers, who were maybe used to deliver educational courses on digital skills, and they were actually experts on web design, graphic design, but not really doing this with the final aim to produce a social impact. So we trained them a lot on this. In the meanwhile, also the creation of a platform that, as Ivan explained, had the multiple objective to provide training, but doing it in a different way, making sure that all those involved in the process had opportunity to contribute, even online. And of course, the promotion. We did a lot of promotion at local level, also to try to deliver and veiculate the opportunity to our local organization, let them understand that there was, we were about to start with an activity where they could have benefit from a website or a marketing campaign, anything that could be useful for them to go to the digital world. Then the selection phase, there were 2 calls, one call for young people, and at the same time, one call for local civil society organizations who wanted to participate. and the third phase of the pilot, the training. Why I'm not including the hackathon here? Because as I said at the beginning, in social hacking, the focus is not on the event, it's not on the contest. The focus is on the educational process. So if you want to organize a social hackathon, you should make sure that you plan it well in advance, also in training the participants that will then be active during the 2 days event. And this is why the hackathon is in the training side phase of this project. Training the trainers was a long process that we had to transform from face-to-face event workshop to online learning path. We had 3 online workshops, and we decided to elaborate lessons plans so that the trainers then could have used them during the effective training. And between the workshops, there were weekly meetings with experts and a lot of exchange also at international level, which was a very added value also for trainers from different countries to create the first community of social hackers trainers, let's say. Something that we did that is now available for everyone who wants to use, we developed 17 learning scenarios based on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. You can see here an example that I chose from Sustainable Development Goal number 8, where beside a general description of the goal and some infographics, we actually provide the full list of targets that the United Nations agenda has identified in order to achieve this goal. But what is most important is that in the learning scenario, we have also highlighted a specific target that, on our opinion, could be used to create a lesson plan in the digital domain. I'm not going to read it now because, unfortunately, we do not have time to take a lesson on this. But you can find it online, and I think that it is something very useful that could impact in the future for all those who are delivering digital training. In fact, from the target, our trainers have elaborated a challenge, like simulating the process of creating a hackathon, and they have been suggested with specific activities to be implemented with the learners, during the preparation phase. While we were training the trainers at international level, a call for 30 participants in each country, aged 16 to 29 years old, was published, promoting 100 hours online training on digital skills, as had been said, on 3 specific topics: web design, graphic design, and mobile app development. But we also stress a lot the access to a wider network of local civil society organizations, also to let the young people understand that taking this training would have been also an opportunity to then keep cooperating with local organizations in the future. Of course, the training and the event fully covered the participation in the hackathon, with accommodation and everything needed for the learners to stay inside and work at every hour as any hackathon it is required to be. And of course the certificates, which is very important also for those learners who want them to continue and maybe attest the fact that they have achieved some digital skills. The response, here we come with some results. Clearly, the higher response to the training offers was with web design and graphic visual design courses. overall web design was the most voted, let's say, most ticked in the registration form. And definitely less people apply to the mobile app development course because, of course, we require some entry competencies in order to, to be able to attend the course. But you can see here a representation of what the difference is in the different countries. In Italy, for example, we had the less participants, unfortunately, on mobile app, while in Greece, and here makes sense that there is a university under the hackathon, it is much more balanced. As I said, the second main target of this project, and I would say at the same level of the learners, not really being after them, were the civil society organizations. We actually involved them in two different stages of the project. So first, there was a very intense local networking to try to catch young people who are already delivering some social project, and we actually invited them to join the course, but also bring their project to be developed during the courses. So they were supporting us in identifying the challenges, those challenges which are relevant for the area where the hackathon is taking place, because innovation is innovation if it creates an impact at local level first, and then maybe we can scale up. But then, when the training process was ongoing, we opened the real call. The real call was asking these civil society organization and any other organization to provide us with solutions. Here, I want to focus just on the fact that most of the hackathons are providing challenges which are very high-tech and calling for the top-notch innovation in many different fields at digital and technological level. The solutions that were, the challenges and the relevant solutions that were created with the social hackathon may be small ones, but very important for the actors who are participating in the event. That's why one rule of social hackathon is for the representatives of the civil society organization to be there 48 hours together with the young developers and contribute really to the development of the digital solutions. Then it comes the concept of service learning, and this is the potential of our project and the real impact that we can achieve. If you think at all the possible training courses on digital skills that are happening from kindergarten to elderly people association, and you try to, instead of having exercises, case studies on something invented, you connect it to the civil society needs. Imagine the big impact that we can really achieve just valorizing and exploiting the training. This is what is called service learning, and this is what we did with HackAD. I'm not going into details here, but just wanted to show you that in preparing the hackathons, we provided, as Ivan actually already introduced it, a lot of tips and tricks and suggestions, checklists that you can follow, both in terms of strategic decisions, but also, believe me, all the logistics. If you want an event, a social hackathon event to work, you should take care of many different aspects. But let's go then to the last part of the presentation and some insights on the hackathon participants. We are now working on a more elaborated version of the final report, which will be available soon. But from the first data that we were able to extract from the national reports, you can see that the biggest target group were the young learners in all countries. while during the co-creating event, there were anyway some representatives from the civil society organization as requested. Each team was facilitated and mentored by an expert team manager, which, believe me, makes the difference. And you always should make sure that the group has someone expert in facilitating teamwork, because this is, and also, of course, in the digital domain, because this is the opportunity for your learners to experience the development of something real, something concrete. Of course, if the final result of the team is just a pitch of an idea, that's fine. They have worked, they have had fun. But if at the end, as the teams that we are welcoming here today from the different countries, they come out with something that it's just so close to become a real hub or a real website, then the satisfaction is much higher. Some last data about the hackers teams. There was kind of internal balance. We are very much happy to show now these graphs here about the gender, where finally all over in all the countries the female participation was higher than the male participation, which we were trying to achieve, on an objective that we were trying to achieve, but it was not easy and we were not sure. And also the age. Here, as you can see, the event was open from 16 years old to 29, but we actually had more people over 20 years old. In terms of disadvantages, a lot of different targets were involved. Let's say that the majority of those with disadvantages were needs, but we also had some representatives from refugees as asylum seekers and people with physical and cognitive disabilities participating in the teams together with their tutors and operators. Again, social hackathon learners also had the participation of people with different level of digital competencies, and I stress out again that this doesn't really matter on a social hacking initiative. You can work with university students or with people that never had similar experiences before. And also very much balance between those who are still on a educational path, or they are already out of schools looking for a job, or maybe not even looking for it. These are the differences from the countries who participated, which I would say have created the real added value of HackID. We really hope that now, starting from these results that we obtain, the ideas that will be presented afterwards here in Brussels will have the opportunity to continue, but also the partnership will have the opportunity to follow up with other HackID projects. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you to Alteo Valentini there indeed. The Social Hackademy project is not over quite yet. We still have one more presentation before we go ahead with the awards ceremony a bit later on. But we have with us now Tine Zignani from Public Libraries 2030, where she manages the association's digital presence and contributions to EU-funded projects. Tine will briefly present what's planned for the near future.
Thank you for that introduction, Samuel, and good morning, everyone. It's no surprise to see and hear from the trainers, the participants, and the project partners that the Social Academy has had a tremendous, wonderful, and positive social impact. And the methodology developed truly has potential for great future use in various educational contexts. Now, we have to talk about the next 3 months because the project will wrap up in the next 3 months. And one question we had was specifically around sustainability. How do we ensure this project lives beyond its initial lifetime and this initial run? What does this mean? How do we get it to go beyond this geographic scope and get it adopted by various people? So for us, once we had these questions around sustainability, we came up with the answer that one of the key components was the endorsement and adaptation of the Social Academy methodology by various actors ranging from relevant authorities, education providers, and also policymakers at all different levels. So what we're going to do to support this very process is develop some policy recommendations that really aim to summarize the experience gained and also the lessons learned from implementing the Social Academy methodology in various educational contexts, in different countries. And with this, we're also going to develop some guidelines that aim to sort of facilitate the adoption of this methodology in different educational contexts. Now, this will have to be the final output, but what it's meant to do is also support anything else that we've put out so far, which includes the methodology, any tools that we might have put out on the website, as well as the evaluation reports that are published. It's not the final opportunity to see us. We will be having a final policy event in December with more details forthcoming in the next couple of weeks. So it's really a great opportunity if you'd like to sort of see how maybe you can get started with your own social academies in your countries, see how it can be translated and adopted and made relevant to your educational context and national context. I would encourage all of you to follow our Facebook page called Social Academy, if you're not doing so already, or visit the project website that is called socialacademy.eu for all of the project outputs and also the eventual policy recommendation. With that, I would like to thank you all for listening to me today. I would say see you all in December. And I hand the floor back to Samuel.
Wonderful. Big hand for Teen Zinyani there for her intervention. And so we've talked about the first-hand experience. We've dived into the methodology and activities that the Social Academy Consortium developed and implemented over the past 20 months. There were some examples of concrete results from the project implementation, but now it's time to get a more comprehensive overview by presenting the winning digital solutions from 4 social hackathons. Yes, folks, this is the Social Academy Awards ceremony. So more than 120 young people and over 20 civil society organisations participated in the Social Hackathon. They worked together to plan and develop digital products and services that help to solve real-life problems. Ultimately, this experience provided young learners with an opportunity to experience and to explore how digital competencies can contribute to addressing concrete needs in society and solve a social challenge, how cooperation and teamwork are crucial elements for a successful implementation of a project, and also that answering to the needs of a specific target group must ensure representatives' direct involvement. Hacking teams took on various challenges that were identified in collaboration with civil society organisations, public institutions and businesses, and also linked to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. One of the unique features of social hackathons when compared to classic hackathons is that the level of digital skills and competencies of young hackers is not an excluding factor. All young people are welcome to join in. They are teamed up with experts to provide additional support in solution development when required. All teams that took part in 4 social hackathons are winners for us. They decided to dedicate their time not only to learn new skills, but also to contribute to a better world. But some teams, of course, did better than others. The winning teams from national social hackathons compete for the Social Academy Award. All of them will present their digital solutions today. After the presentations, the winner will be announced by Alessia Sibillo from Diesis, who chairs the 5-member jury. Other jury members are Teen Zignani from Public Libraries 2030, who we've just seen, Milan Stacic from Out of the Box International, Alexander Noth from German Academic Exchange Service, and Barbara Quarta from All Digital. So, without further ado, I think it's time to move to the presentation phase of the awards now. And the first team to present is called Alimenta Zero Hunger 2, the winners of Social Hackathon Umbria. They developed an app that aims to raise awareness about social and economic issues in developing countries. Members of the team are Andrea Emili, Giacomo Torti, Sharon Toretti, Alberto Fecchi, Alessandro Masci. Alberto and Giacomo will present their solution on behalf of the team. Please take to the stage. And a round of applause, I think, absolutely, yeah.
Prova. Check. It's working. Yeah. Okay. Hi everyone. Hope you're doing great. I'm Giacomo and he's Alberto, and we are two of the former members of the Zero Hunger team. We won this year edition of the Hackathon, the Social Hackathon Umbria in Italy, with this idea called Alimenta. Alimenta was born following the hand-in-hand principles of the Zero Hunger goal, which is one of the 17 global goals of the United Nations program, which has the goal to improve nutrition, achieve food security, defeat hunger, and promote sustainable agriculture. So we came up with an idea that aims to educate and raise awareness on people that today is far from this issue.
So, what is Alimenta? Alimenta is a mobile game that reflects real-world issues in a virtual environment. Users can choose a country and create a village, collect resources, create buildings, farms, and much more. And they can do it by completing missions, solving puzzles, and answering quizzes. This means that we use gamification to educate and inspire users by playing. And in fact, a key feature of Alimenta is the possibility for the users to do in-app purchases, to boost their village and to be more competitive in the game. This is a well-known strategy, monetizing strategy adopted by a lot of free games, and this is how Alimenta can collect money. I think this is very important because users know that they are not just playing a game, but also that their money will be used to help underdeveloped countries.
Okay, here we have some example of how we imagine the application. First thing first, of course, a user needs to create an account. Then he has to select a country within a list of the ones available. In this example, we selected Nigeria, which has to deal with the following issues: hunger and infertile soil. An important thing to mention is that the countries are not created by a randomized algorithm, but they come from a custom engine that we created for the purpose. We'll dive deep later on this. So again, the main objective of the game is to raise your village and do progress through the game by solving mini games, puzzles, and quizzes, and eventually make donations. And on the other side, the user gets educated by solving these mini games.
Okay, this is a recap of the engine of the game, and it's probably the most innovative aspect of this project. And everything starts from data. Alimenta gets data from non-profit organization databases and use this data to create the virtual environment inside the game. As users progress through the game and do in-app purchases, Alimenta collects money that will be used to help underdeveloped countries and to make real change in the real world. So as the real world change, data in databases changes too, and Alimenta then can take new data, collect new data from these databases and refresh or update its virtual environment. This is a never-ending loop, and this is why we like to refer to Alimenta as an auto-learning simulator.
We made a small analysis on the, to know how the market goes nowadays. And we see that there is a constant increment of the income of the mobile gaming in terms of money and time spent playing. Just consider that there were a total of 80 billion mobile game downloads in the last year, within a 18% year-over-year growth. Player spend is set to reach 138 billion by 2025. And the last year, players spent 100 billion in mobile games. And on average, they spent more than 4 hours daily by playing video games, mobile video games. So that's why we think that this is the right time for Alimenta. Just consider that everyone has a smartphone and you can download and install a game within a few clicks. So actually we are looking for a partner to improve our team and maybe a no-profit organization partner which can help us to make this application reality and help give a hand in a real way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Alimenta Zero Hunger 2, and we can download the app on all good app stores, can we?
Not yet.
Not yet, it's okay, we'll have to wait for that one. But thank you very much for your presentation there. Next up, we have a group called the Coding Gang. And the Coding Gang was selected as the best team at Social Hackathon Patras. They created an app that helps to reduce environmental problems caused by invasive plants. The team consists of 2 members, Lazareninis Lefteris and Kostasas Fotis. We have Lazareninis with us here today, who's going to present the app. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everybody. I am the representative of the Coding Gang, and the problem we had is the fight against invasive plants. So, invasive plants affect the flora of our country, but also of many countries around the EU. According to the site of the European Union and the United Nations, through their SDG 15, action must be taken in order to prevent the loss of natural habitat and biodiversity. Invasive plants do exactly that. That's why we decided to combat this issue. Our solution was to create a mobile application enabling the user to register the location and the magnitude of the problem. This application is fully functional, and for its creation we use the MIT App Inventor in order to develop all its capabilities. So first of all, why we chose an application. An application is not just limited to providing information, but it can give the user a platform with interactive capabilities, and this constitutes this makes the application attractive, and the fact that it's free will make many users participate in the problem solution. Also, such an application can help the environmental organization gather information in real time in the most optimal way. So our application has 3 main pillars, 3 main options. First of all, it informs the user in real time about problem in their area. Secondly, it provides solutions and the location and visual information of the problem to the organization. And thirdly, it can inform the user about how he can participate in the actions of the NGO and help combat the program, at least at the preliminary. By clicking the first button, a map pops up that shows the problem around the user's location. These problems are highlighted by markers, and each user, by selecting a marker, will be able to see a short description of the problem. And this can include images, text, external services, links, and basically everything that a user will need to see. Also, a user will be able to upload a marker and point out a problem in his area through pointing a marker. Secondly, the user has the ability to report the problem. They can provide data such as photos, videos, other information, and also location coordinates and altitude information, which are gathered by sensors, so the user doesn't have to bother for them at all. And this information will be sent to a central database. Through that procedure, the environmental organization will have an easy and effective management of its problem, and because it will be receiving real-time information. Also, the user will have the ability to share the details of the problem on social media and provide a complete picture of the problem for other people who are interested in helping to be incentivized to help. And by clicking the third button, the user will get a text, will be able to see a text, and through that he will learn about ways to deal with the goals of the NGO and to help combat the problem, at least preliminary. Also, it will have, he will get information on various topics concerning the invasive plants problem. Of course, although this application is fully functional, it could be greatly improved in the future, and it's a goal we are set to accomplish. First of all, we want to optimize the graphical interface through putting more and more effort into that. Secondly, we think that by having users' profiles, we will be able to increase the security of the application. And also, we will do a ranking based on the correct observations each user makes. And that, we think, will incentivize people and users to use the app more and more and combat the problem effectively. And, well, it will boost people that the participation. Also, we think that we should incorporate a thing called trusted partners, which will be environmentalists, botanists, or people who do correct observations, and this will lead to reliability in the identifying of potential issues. At a later stage, we think that this app could also have the ability to automatically identify the plant, drawing information, of course, from central databases and using the photos that are provided by the user. And through that procedure, the app can do an automatic risk assessment so that the NGO is not bothered by errors and mistakes in the pointing out of plantation issues. And also, lastly, we really value the getting feedback from the users and learning about their opinions and what we should enhance and what we should change in the app. So we will incorporate an application evaluation mechanism in order for the user to be able to give us suggestions. Of course, the building of the app required a set of instructions, and each individual button is associated to a specific series of blocks. And in order to make this user interface, in this preliminary version at least, it was a very big challenge in the 8 and 9, 10 hours we had to create this application. So thank you very much for hearing to my presentation, and now I will show you a video of the application and how it's actually used. Yeah, we're waiting for the video. Well, in the meantime, I should say that the application is called biodiversity app, and that it's linked to an environmental organization. So let's start the video. As you can see, you click in the BioProtect app, And by clicking the first button, a map will pop up, as I said, with the markers. You can zoom in, zoom out, and by clicking the marker, you will get a short description. For example, that's in Patras, where the social hackathon took place. By clicking the second button, you can provide information about the terrain type, the area type, a short description of why this plant really stands out, and then you can take a photo. As you can see, by clicking the button Take a Photo, this screen appears, and you can take a photo. And by clicking the Check button, you can save the photo. When you have done that, you can click the Post button, and you can share it on social media and everywhere you want. For example, I shared it with email, and you can send it to the environmental organization for your data to be processed. And thirdly, by clicking the third button, you will see the text. Of course, we haven't filled it out, but the organization, the NGO, will tell us what we should write down and what will help them in their causes. So this app, I should say, this whole concept could be generalized not just to fighting invasive plants, but also to fighting other social issues. Yeah, and it's fully functional with having the link and use it. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Round of applause there for the coding gang with a biodiversity-themed app. Thank you, Lazarinis, for your presentation. Constantly inspired by these applications and the principles and the driving force behind them. It's something I think we could all learn a few lessons from. Up now, we have the IT girls, and Maria Silajev and Lana Pra comprise the IT girls team that won Social Hackathon Rijeka. They tackled the challenge, which is quite a taboo in Croatia, mental health. Their app aims to help people with different mental difficulties to keep track of their moods and activities that led to these moods to help them focus on the positive things in life. It also provides tips and has additional options that allow users to achieve and maintain a state of remission and mental stability. IT girls, the floor is yours.
So hello everyone, thank you for having us here. My name is Maria Silajev and this is Lana Prar. Today we're going to tell you more about Phoenix mobile application for recording moods and feelings. So the idea came from the non-profit organization Phoenix from Split, where they work with mentally unstable people, people that are having hard time in life, and also people that are just not finding any reason to live. We believe that our application is good to exist as it is written in our mother tongue and users can fully understand it. So mental health is very important because if not treated, it can lead to severe emotional problems, and also the main goal is of this application is to help user to prevent and to find out on time how one person is feeling and what that person is going through. As I said, if not treated, mental disorder can lead to severe emotional health, behavioral problems, and physical problems. Mental disorder are one of the top challenges in the WHO health community. It affects about 25% of population every year, and if that way it needs to be treated. European policy framework for health and well-being has one priority that says that health services are accessible, available, and affordable in the community according to the need. And our solution fits in that framework completely because we provide it with what we have inside.
So the fact that the most mental illness cannot be cured totally, it can be all just controlled. It's saying enough about how important it is to get proper help for mentally unstable significant. And at the time we live in, mental health is a topic that is not talked about, and it's a great stigma in today's society. So you can imagine what trouble can cause to mentally unstable person to have some diagnosis that destroys his lives and still not searching for help or saying it out loud, because there is countless people in this area who doesn't search for help because they are ashamed or scared of telling the people how they feel, which problems they have, because they even can't understand it by themselves. So one of the main proclaimed characteristic of UNA Agenda of 2030 for Sustainable Development says that they want to build peaceful, just and inclusive societies and to protect human rights. So in this way, with our digital solution, with mentally ill people as a target group in our solution, we are attempting to include a very marginalized part of society as a whole, and in this way to build and achieve social equality and equity.
So these are our registration and login forms. Registration is very simple. User just needs to fill in some data. So name, last name, email address, password, city where user comes from, date of birth, phone number in case of emergencies, gender, and also purpose of using. And when registered, the user can just simply log in by entering his email address and his password. This is the home page. Our solution, it's written in Flutter, which gives us one code base for Android and iOS applications. We have our design is very simple, and colors were chosen by an expert on our side. So the green color represents calm, harmony, and balance. We have a question that asks user, how are you feeling today? And below is a button in a shape of folder which takes user to the next screen where he enters his moods and feelings. We also have emergency contacts button and a rep plan.
So by this digital solution, mentally ill person can record their mood and which parts of each day cause them easily stress, dysfunction, put them in bad conditions, and also which brings them feel of joy, of happiness, and make them feel better. In a long-term using, it can bring very important facts for medical documentation by monitoring users' condition. So it can all be exported from our application to user's doctor in a form of a graph that is formed by sequence of recorded data. So this screen has 12 emojis and each one represents its own mood. They are all of the same simple design because we wanted to choose something simple so the user won't be disturbed. Each face expression of emoji is simple and very understandable, so they can recognize it easily. And when they choose one mood, like how they feel, then the next screen appears with 16 icons that represents activities that they made them feel the way that they feel. Below, they can add additional text if activity they want to choose as the one that brings them that feeling isn't shown by our icons, so they can write it down, and all inputs are saved in user's personal data profile.
We have listed some emergency contacts in case of emergency, so user can get help or an advice when needed. Some of them are SOS helpline for women, suicide prevention helpline, children helpline, parent helpline, and blue line. We don't have a screen down here. So application contains a rep plan, which means wellness recovery action plan. No. Okay, thank you. So it's a plan where user can input his also moods and feelings and all the things that he has on his mind. And the main goal of that plan is to help user and to prevent his problems on time. REP plan has been created by expert and has been studied. Also, it is listed in various national registries of evidence-based programs and practices.
We consider it all our digital solution as a completely innovation on a local and national level, because there is no single application in Croatia dedicated to the mental health. And on the side of social contribution, this digital solution can be a new response to the people in need of mental care and help, to those who are scared to step up, call somebody, make an appointment to psychiatrist. And it's also, when we look at it from the national level, this is the only application dedicated to this that it's in Croatian language. And from national level, it's good side because there are a lot of people who doesn't speak English in Croatia, especially elder people. So by taking like this part in consideration, it's a lot of people, if mentally ill and they can't take the application in Croatian, they are immediately excluded from possible online treatment. We have so this innovation is where people can go by digital to try, not searching for help directly, but going, taking better for themselves, doing some stuff with our application, which contains professional approach such as REP plan and personal doctor. So at all, it can lead to improvement and to gradual reduction of mentally ill people, because mentally ill, the mental unstable people or people with some mental health issues is growing every year, and still it's not a topic that it's still taboo and it's not talked about. So this is the way that you don't have to reach help by saying it out loud, but still having proper help because of professional approaches.
So our application as it is, if launched, it can be used immediately, but there were also some things that we wanted to add. We wanted to add like recording hours of the sleep, recording hours of the nightmares, reminders for taking medication, calendar to see oscillation in users' moods and feelings, and also at the end positive quotes in a form of a pop-up.
So although this application is made for Phoenix from Split, it can be used by any user who wants to see his who wants to record his mood and behavior and to track it. And we believe when this application is going to be fully done, that it can be used in every device, not depending on that operating system. This is all for us. Thank you for having us here. It was really a great pleasure to take part in this.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, please. Maria and Lana, the IT girls right there. And of course, the subject of mental health has taken on an added pertinence during the coronavirus pandemic. So apps like those are very welcome indeed. Up now, we have a team from France called the Feminist Surge. And the Feminist Surge team won Social Hackathon Montpellier. Nicolas Prodhomme, Sarah Truffert, Roxane Kabi, Fatima Makawi, Julian Pablo and Violeta Rodriguez Paras created a website that offers information, guidance, advice and support for people that are victims of violence and social exclusion because of their gender, minority status, identity or age in the city of Montpellier. I now offer the floor to the Feminist Surge.
So, hi, welcome and thank you for inviting us today. We're glad to present you the Defalon project. So my name is Roxanne and I followed the Social Academy apprenticeship in May, and I'm currently a work study IT developer.
Hi, my name is Sarah Truffert, and I'm apprenticeship cloud developer in TID's infrastructure team. For the context, we have 48 hours, and we were 5 people to make a web platform for an association.
So for the challenge, we had to create a simple website that had to be accessible for everyone on computer and on mobile phone. It had to be no code, so it would be very simple to manage for the association. And everything for the graphic chapter to the text had to be created, so to not encounter any copyright issues. About the regional impact of Occitania, the region allows more than 450,000 euros to reduce the gap between gender inequalities. And 1 month by year is dedicated to it. As for the Sustainable Development Goals, the project was spelled goal number 5 by supporting equality between genders and aim to end violence and discrimination against women. It also respects goal number 10, that is to reduce inequality based on gender, age, disability, social or ethnic origin, and religious affiliation.
Okay, the Déferlante Feminists is at base a national collective. It's an inclusive collective group in the support for women and trans people. To be more efficient, they decide to make another association in different departments. So we work with Déferlante Feminists in the Hero department in Occitania region, and we make this web platform for there. For the functionalities of the website, we're beginning by use cases, and we made personas, and we imagine, and we take contact, and we make contacts with association to really describe victims and took place at the center of our project. So we made some use cases with users. After, there are no typography, no logo, and no color palettes. So we decide to determine graphics and color palette with there. After that, we really decide to take easy tool, easy to modify, and to appropriate. So we decide to make a WordPress. So we decided to make a lot of functionalities. The first was a welcoming page to make the first contact with the association before the meeting and the support services. It was very important to make a welcoming page because this website will be a vector of trust. After, to invite people to make contacts and to be accompanied in person, because the association make in contact medical, legal, safe people with victims. So we decide to make a repertory to make contact between us. After, for us, it will be really important to make a dictionary or an index, because for words, it's really important to put words, really incorrect words. For example, for trans people, we have 2 words, transition and transformation. It's really important to put the correct word inside. So we decide to make a dictionary. And at least it's the calendar. They use a calendar link with Google. So they use a calendar, a Google Calendar. So we decide to make a calendar link with Google. So for the social relevance and the benefits, we decide to create a transposal and modular template for other iteration of Nutut in other departments. It was really important to make a template. It's the innovation to make a template really transposable, modular, and independent for every Nutut in all over the France. And also make an open source photo, and resources. And for what's left, we really need an online and functional website because it's a WordPress blog for now. And define a SEO and a domain name and add a really complete index or dictionary to translate commonly misused words through a socially appropriate definitions. And also make tutorials and appropriation tools as videos. Okay, kind regards for all people support us.
For the feminist surge. Wonderful. I can't believe you did all that in 48 hours. Very impressive indeed. And thank you to all of the participants, changing the world one app at a time. But for now, that wraps up all the presentations. I'm really impressed with all of them and congratulate you all once more. Now, I would like to invite jury president Alessia Sibillo to announce the first winner of the Social Hackademy Award. So Alessia, if you would like to come to the stage and announce our winner for 2021.
Hello. Yeah. Can I speak with this? Okay, great. So thank you, first of all, for the invitation to all digital and all the partners. It was very nice for me to be part of the jury and to see how you developed the project and the activity, and especially to hear the project that the participant presented earlier, and to see how young people are so connected and so willing to develop, a solution for their community, but not only, so even larger scale. So I don't want to take much more time. So here, this beautiful prize. And I'm very happy to announce, I was hoping, about the envelope, like the Oscar stuff, but anyway. So the winner for this edition, at least, is the team Zero Anger, so for Alimenta.
Well done, come up on stage.
Congrats to you, congrats to all the other participants.
Wonderful. Maybe you'd like to say a couple of words what this award means to you, how difficult the process was, and what you're doing in the future, maybe.
How difficult will be the process?
Will be, yes.
There was a lot to develop, still in development application, and
we have a lot to do. It's a very long project, but we hope to...
We've got some microphones there.
We hope to finish it as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Another round of applause again for Zero. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, I think we all need a bit of a break after all of that excitement. It's now time for lunch, but we'll see you back here on the main stage at 1 p.m. for the final two sessions of the All Digital Summit 2021, which comprises a panel discussion on implementing co-creation methodologies, as well as a concluding mini hack session. We'll see you back here at 1 p.m. Tanti auguri.